Hey guys, today I got my 32 Ford in here, and what I'm going to do is rethread and tap the spark plug hole in the aluminum head. Now, a lot of these old aluminum cylinder heads, the problem is they're probably 60 years old, and there's been many spark plugs screwed in and out of them. And if you've watched any of my social media, you've probably seen that I've lost a few spark plugs out of this car in the past. Well, I'm about ready to lose another one, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do something on YouTube, and I'm gonna try to actually change the spark plug and re-tap it in the car. So there's a few things that you got to know before you do it, but we're gonna go ahead and try it anyway. Okay, so what the problem is on these aluminum heads, the threads inside of them are very soft. So you put a spark plug in there that has metal threads against the aluminum heads, what's gonna win? The spark plug. So what happens over the years of just tightening up the spark plugs on these things, it starts to pull the threads out of them. Then you gotta go in and basically re-tap them, helicoil them, or what I have is a little kit that you can do to put inside of these. So if you look down here, you can see this spark plug right here is loose and it is ready to come out. And you can see the black soot around it, so it's huffing out around the spark plug. So what we're gonna do is pull this out and then clean it out and get ready to drill it so we can tap it. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the spark plug wire off, pull the spark plug out, then we're gonna see what kind of damage we got in here. The next thing we wanna make sure is that the valves are closed inside the cylinder, because if they're not, when I go to blow this out later, we'll get metal shavings down in the motor. So you got to make sure that the valves are closed on this thing, and the only thing that's exposed is just the piston. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drill it out. Then we're going to tap it with the kit that I got here. And then what we're going to do is put the thread in it. Now, this is not really a helicoil. It's a different kind of a sleeve thread. So what we're going to do is I put it on the spark plug. I put a little bit of Loctite on it. I screw it in there. I tighten it up. Let it sit for a minute, and then you can pull the spark plug back out and it'll be done. All right, so let's get this off. This one's probably almost hand tight, but you can feel like it's kind of galled up in there. These threads, they start to come apart in there. And what I've tried to do before, and the only reason why the spark plug is staying in here right now, is because I peen hammered it with a center punch, and I closed up the head a little bit on it around the threads to get by. So if you ever broke down on the side of the road and say you're in a flathead, or any of the late model Fords, a lot of the late model Fords, what they do is they blow the threads come out with the spark plug. And this is a pretty common thing in the late model Fords right now, actually. So what I did, and if I don't know if this works or not, but I took a center punch just like this. Let me show you, so you can kind of understand. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you are having a hard time getting home, your spark plug flew out, you could take a punch kind of like this. Then you hit the sides like this, right? And what that does is it kind of folds in the top couple of threads and it tightens it up. Once it tightens up like that, you can kind of get home with it, but it's not really a permanent fix. So I just take this screwdriver here, and it shows me right here that the piston is at the very top right now, which is good because the valves are closed. Okay, so you got to be careful when you drill this out. You don't want to go through your piston. You just want to hit this part and tap it real easy. Okay, now that I know that the valves are closed on this thing, we're gonna go ahead and drill a hole in here, but before we do that, you wanna take your drill bit and put a little grease on there like this. Because what happens is when you start to drill in it, those aluminum shavings will get stuck in this grease, and it'll help prevent too much of it getting down into the cylinder. So that's kind of the next step on what we're gonna do here. What we're trying to do here is oversize the hole big enough to put this sleeve in there. So this little sleeve right here is gonna go down in there. Once we drill it, we're gonna tap it with this one. Okay, and on this one too, you also wanna keep a grease or some sort of an anti-seize on it, because you're going into an aluminum head with steel. So you want to put anti-seize on it so it doesn't get galled up. There we go. See, it doesn't take much to get down through there. All right, you don't want to go in there and just start reaming it out because you're going to have a problem later. But see how this grease catches all the threads? All the aluminum thread that came out of it? As you can see, it's all in there, all that aluminum. So make sure you do that or you're going to have a bunch of stuff down in your motor. I don't think we really even got hardly any of it in there, to be honest with you. Okay, so these are my little thread repair kits. I mean, I got these over at the AutoZone or wherever. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's a quick repair kit. I'm going to use this new one because really all I need is probably this one right here. They got 4 different sizes here of your little threads. So when you look at them though, you can see they're not really a helicoil. They're just an insert. So they're threaded on both sides. This side's threaded for your spark plug, which I'm going to thread in there and show you. So this side's got the 14 millimeter pitch for your spark plug like this. And then what we're going to do is actually, you know what? I think, yeah, this is you can see how this one's a little long. So really we need the short one. So we're going to put that one in there as soon as we get done tapping it. Right now I'm going to, I think I'm going to use this new one because I've got it. These are pretty inexpensive. They're not very expensive. But as you can see, it's a kind of a fresh tap. So I'm going to put some anti-seize on it and then we're going to go ahead and start tapping it in there. Okay, so you got a little bit of goop around here and some of this aluminum. If you can, without letting it fall in there, try to clean that shit out of there a little bit just to kind of prevent any more falling in there than what's necessary, you know what I mean? Okay, so I got a little bit of this anti-seize on here. And this here has a little copper in it for heat. It works really good. Make sure that you guys, if you're gonna do this, and I don't care if it's on a late model one or whatever, I always like to put a little anti-seize on there because when you go in there and you start thread cutting, you know, you want it, number one, not to seize up in there. Because like I said, this is metal, that's aluminum. And it will lock up in there if you're not careful. So, a couple different reasons to put it on. One is to keep it from seizing up in there, and another one is to catch all the little threads now. See those little grooves right there? They cut. These grooves actually cut, but at the same moment, they're gonna grab some of the leftover thread that's gonna come out of there. So make sure you put that on there and make it look good. Okay, so with this particular tap right here, it's not like a tapered tap. So what I did is I tapped it in there a little bit with this hammer, and I got it where it's pretty solid in there right now to get it started, okay? Now's the part where you start tapping and hopefully it goes the way it should. Coming out. You don't want to disrupt them because the threads are very fine cut. Okay, as you can see, while I'm taking it out of here, you can see all it's stuck a lot of the thread to it, so I don't have to worry about a lot of it falling in there. Okay, that's good. That's a good sign right there. Okay, so you want to reach down inside this cylinder head, blow it out because there's going to be a little bit of residue in there. Make sure you have some safety glasses on because it's going to blow out and hit you in the face. So get down in there deep. Okay, now that we got that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean out all of the anti-seize in there. The reason being is because I don't want to mix it up with the Loctite that I'm going to put in there. Because once we put the insert in there, I want it to stay in there. So I'm going to clean it up really quick so I can get to that point. Okay, so the way that these inserts are made is, you see this little lip right here on the end? That will stay outside of the cylinder a little bit, just right here, because it's a little fatter. So what I like to do is to get this to seat in there properly all the way. You can see around this hole right here from tapping it that there is a little bit of aluminum right here on the edge, and you want to clean that off and get it flat, because you don't want this thing to go in there and it doesn't sit flat in there. Okay, so in these kits right here, you can see that these inserts are all a little bit different sized. Some of these are from my old kit too, but you got this really tall one, and basically what these are for is the length of your spark plug threads. So like if you look at this one, it's pretty short. So I'm gonna take the smallest one, which is this one. And as you see, you come down, and when it bottoms out, it's like, you know, exactly where it needs to be. Now, if you use like this big one, there's a good chance that the piston could come up and hit that and cause a big problem. So on this kit, make sure when you do it, you know, I think there's four different sizes in there. And this is the one that you use right there. Okay, so when we get ready to install the spark plug insert and spark plug, I like to put a little anti-seize on here, because, you know, once it goes in there, your insert's gonna stay, and you want this to come out and not pull your insert back out until it sets up in there. Okay, so let's do that right now. I'm not going to put this all the way in, but I'm going to show you how the insert started. So the insert started right now. Now what I'm going to use is the spark plug to push it in there all the way. Okay, you'll kind of feel it come to a stop there. This is aluminum and the threads are very fine, so you got to be careful. Now with the anti-seize on the spark plug should just come back out like this. Okay, now I look in there to see, and I'm not all the way down yet, so you might want to do that a couple times just to make sure that you don't over torque it, because if you do, then you're right back to where you were, and you're going to need a bigger tap, and then you're going to have to find a bigger spark plug, and that's just going to be a train wreck. But okay, I'm not going to go any further than that right there. I'm feeling good about that. Okay, now here's our spark plug in place. Our spark plug back on. Let's fire it up and see if it runs. All right, so pretty much at the end of the day, I mean, any of these old flatheads, anything aluminum, you're gonna have a problem. Anytime you're putting metal into an aluminum thread, there's gonna be a problem eventually, especially if you're changing the spark plugs in and out a lot. You know, the later model stuff, they don't change plugs as much as they did back in these days. But any of these old Elderbrock, sharp heads, you know, Offenhausers, a lot of times people were always changing spark plugs. They were over cranking them, pulling the threads out of them. I think this is the third one that I've done in these sharp heads. So eventually I'll make my way through all 8 of them. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. Thought I would share with people on kind of an easy way to do it. I mean, it really didn't cost me but maybe 10 bucks in the thread tool, and that was it. So make sure you get anti-seize if you're gonna do it, because if you don't, you're gonna be in trouble. That is your friend. Make sure you get anti-seize for sure. All right, we'll see you later. We're gonna go cruise at 32.